And even on the Brexit side, I would say, you know, the famous bus was about saving money from European Union membership that might go into the National Health Service. We didn't hear enough about what would have interested perhaps you and me most, which was, you know, sovereignty, accountability, making democracy real. So is it that that politicians become frightened of talking in visionary terms? Are they frightened about talking about abstracts, which actually, to me, matter very much?
Well, I think the problem is that you described very well, I think, the problem with the Remain side, which was they thought that what you needed to do was say it'll cost you money, it might cost you jobs, technically it's not going to work. And that didn't inspire anyone. I mean, when I say it didn't inspire anyone, it didn't actually give anyone something to really grasp onto in an aspirational way. And despite the bus, because I actually think that the Brexit vote got through despite the bus.
Yes.
I think that often politicians imagine that citizens and voters only think in terms of, you know, pounds and pennies and, you know, what will work. Whereas actually, when you went out and talked to people, as I did before the referendum, about what really had got people who'd never been involved in politics very excited, it was precisely those points about democratic accountability, sovereignty and so on. That was what they were really interested in. They suddenly realised, well, this is a big constitutional question. There are alternative visions on board that I have to choose from, and they were more inspired by something that had that abstract quality to it, ironically.
Well, let's go back to Liz Truss, though. Let's try to be up to date. I mean, it seems to me that she certainly wants to have a vision. It's possible even that she does have a vision. As I mentioned a moment ago, I think the vision is largely Mrs. Thatcher's vision. How far do you think she's got towards helping people understand what that vision is and to be inspired by it? Well,
I think that she's been totally inadequate in bringing, if she has the vision, to life. I mean, I think that growth and a commitment to growing the economy rather than dealing with this after a period which has basically been stagnation and slow productivity. I mean, you know, productivity's almost come to a standstill, and redistribution of a one-size cake, and she wants to grow the cake. We've got all that. But to a certain extent, you just think, as you pointed out, whatever I think about Margaret Thatcher, it was based on some big philosophical ideas, and we haven't got any sense that Liz Truss is kind of animated by anything other than the slogan for growth. If she's got those big ideas, she hasn't explained them. And one of the worst things that happened with the mini-budget was that a budget came out apparently inspired by a vision, but they didn't bother to tell the country what the vision was. It then disappeared for a week. We've had a hint of the vision now via Liz Truss's conference speech. But really, if you want to inspire people, and you were saying about Brexit being divisive, actually politics has always been competing visions. I mean, between Labour and the Conservatives, but historically, the way that you've moved people to change the world has been that there's been some vision at the end of it, not just the kind of everyday issues. However, if you get visions turned into just sound bites, then people start to get disillusioned with the whole idea of ideals and principles and abstract philosophical movements, and they start going, actually, I do want to worry about how I'm going to pay for my bills. I understand that completely.
I'm going to move on from this, but I would just comment, I just want to underline that, you know, the Thatcher period was underpinned by people having worked on the vision, on the literature, on the economics. And, of course, she was very disposed to engage in argument. So she wanted to be in there telling people what it was she wanted to do. When Liz Truss goes on television, it apparently is only to tell us how much money she's giving us to settle our gas.
Exactly, and I just think that, I mean, we've got a big festival on called the Battle of Ideas next weekend.
Yes, tell us about this.
Oh, yeah, well, I am going to plug it because GBNews are one of our supporters at the festival. But the reason I'm saying that is because the slogan is free speech allowed, and although there's 100 panel debates and that's 400 speakers and lots of discussion, the main thing is to say to members of the public, come along and have these arguments out. It's not just a slogan. It's not just about coming and kind of what you can get from it, but it's actually treating people seriously as people who've got ideas and intellectual lives, and they want to understand the world. And I just think that Liz Truss and too many politicians underestimate the public.
Let me just say that we've got 2 tickets